good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Pull up a chair. This is Wonder and Wander. Before we get into anything tonight, let's just check in again. We're at the halfway point of the season. 6 episodes in, 6 to go. If you've been here for some of them, you've sat with some heavy things. The weight that we carry, loneliness, the man that you thought you'd be, feeling behind. That's nothing new, but it can take a lot out of a person. So tonight, I want to start with this. How are you doing with it all? Not just today, but in general. How are you actually holding up? Yeah, me too. And one more. Is there anything that you've been sitting with since the previous episode? Something that came up that didn't quite leave? Alright. Yeah, good. Well, hold on to that for a sec. Tonight's episode might have something to say about it. I grew up on a farm, and one of the things that you learn early on is that you don't rush things. You can't. You can want the crop to come up faster. You can wish the seasons would turn. But the ground doesn't care about your timeline, nor does the weather. It does what it wants, at the pace that it does it. And your job is mostly to just show up. To do the work. To trust a process that you can't fully see. I used to find that frustrating. I wanted results that I could point to. Progress that I could measure. At a speed that I can control. But I've come to think that there's something the farm was trying to teach me that took a long time to actually land. The most important growth is always the kind you can't see while it's happening. And that's how it is with us, too. Becoming who we're meant to be doesn't come with a progress bar or a notification. It doesn't announce itself. It happens in the small choices, the quiet moments of courage, the days you kept going when you had every reason to stop. You might not be able to see it right now, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Some of the most significant shifts in a person's life only truly become visible in hindsight. When you look back and you realize that you're no longer who you were once upon a time, 2 years ago perhaps. And not because of one big moment, but because of 1,000 small ones that you barely noticed at the time. So let me ask you something, and I want you to actually look for it. Don't let yourself say nothing. What's one way that you've grown in the past year that you might not have noticed at first? Let something specific rise to the surface. Okay, yeah. That growth right there, that's real. Even if it is quiet. Even if nobody noticed. There's a version of self-improvement that's becoming pretty popular. The one that's loud, fast, and measurable. You gotta optimize your mornings, track all your habits, grind harder, level up. I'm not saying that none of that has value or not. I do think it misses something important. It treats becoming becoming who you're meant to be like a project to be completed, rather than a person to be lived. And the men I've seen do the deepest growing in my work as a counselor, in my own life, they didn't do it through intensity alone. They couldn't. They did it through patience, through a willingness to stay in the hard seasons instead of escaping them. Through a kind of gentleness with themselves that most men were never really taught. The most meaningful changes in our lives usually happen slowly. It takes patience to become who we're meant to be. It takes a willingness to trust that even the slow steps, the ones that don't feel like progress, they still matter. It takes kindness towards yourself, which frankly for a lot of men is actually the hardest part. I get that. It's the same for me too. We're pretty good at pushing ourselves, at holding the line, at enduring. We're not always good at giving ourselves grace when the growth is slow, when we're having a hard day, when we're not where we thought we'd be, when we fall short of our own expectations. But grace isn't weakness. It's what makes the long road possible. There's humility in slowing down, in recognizing that our own pace has to carry us to the end, not burn us out before we even begin. So let me ask you something. What's one small step that you've taken recently toward the person you want to become? Yeah, it's not dramatic. I don't think it has to be dramatic. But that's the point. Even the small step, this small step that you mentioned, is part of your becoming. Don't minimize it. I want to say something about trust, because I think it's at the center of all of this. Becoming, real becoming, requires trusting something you can't fully see just yet. And that's hard, especially for men who were used to being the ones with the plans, the ones who figured things out, the ones who didn't really need to ask for directions. Trusting the process feels uncomfortably close to not being in control at all. And yet, I keep coming back to what I saw on the farm. The farmer doesn't control the rain. It's not even possible. He doesn't will the seed to germinate. He does his part. He prepares the ground. He plants. He tends. And then, he trusts. Not passively, not with indifference, but with a kind of settled confidence that the work he's doing matters, even when he can't see it yet. Becoming isn't about perfection. It never was, it never will be. It's about learning to trust the process. Being gentle with yourself as you grow. Recognizing that every season has its own rhythm. And that winter isn't a failure. It's just winter. Some seasons are for planting. Some are for growing. Some are for harvesting. And some are for resting. For letting the ground lie fallow, so something better can come later. All of those seasons matter. They're all necessary. You don't get to skip them. So let me ask you this. What's one way that you could be kinder to yourself as you're becoming who you're meant to be. Let it be something real, not a platitude. Let it be an actual thing. That kindness isn't optional. It's part of the work. Before we put out the fire for the night, I want to pause with something. One of the things that I've noticed in my own life, and in the lives of men that I've sat with, is that the most important moments aren't usually the big breakthroughs. They're the quiet ones, the in-between ones, the moment when something shifts, but you don't have words for it quite yet. When you realize that something's loosening, but you don't know what's on the other side. That space has a name in a lot of traditions. Some call it a threshold. Some call it liminality, being in between what was and what will be. I just call it the uncomfortable place that most of us can't wait to get out of. It's a space between realizing something and knowing what to do with it, where old assumptions loosen, but new footing hasn't quite appeared yet. If I'm being honest, it's uncomfortable, and we're not great at honoring it. We often want to rush through it, fill it, explain it away, get to the part where we know what to do. I know I struggle with this. I'm someone who likes to understand things, to turn an experience into something I can name and work with. But I've learned, ever so slowly, that some of the most important things in my life didn't make much sense until much later. I had to live in that question for a while before the answer had any real weight to it. Wandering, it asks something different of us. It asks us to stay curious a little longer, to sit with the discomfort instead of escaping it, to notice what it feels like when certainty softens and questions start to stretch their legs. That's not a weakness. It's actually a form of courage. The willingness to not know yet. To resist the urge to manufacture a conclusion just to feel better. Wonder lives in that space. And wonder is where some of the most important things begin. So if parts of tonight felt unfinished, if something landed without immediately making sense, that's not a problem to solve. What you're seeing there, that's the work. You might notice it later today, or in a few days, when a thought resurfaces at an unexpected moment. In the car, lying awake, somewhere quiet. Let it. Don't force it into a conclusion before it's ready. Sometimes wonder does its best work when we stop trying to manage it. Sometimes it shows up in the quiet moments, when we least expect it. When we finally stopped pushing long enough to actually hear something. We're at the halfway point of the season. 6 in, 6 to go. And I want to say, I'm really glad that you're here. Whether you've caught every episode, or if this is just your first, you're here now. And that matters. The second half of the season is going to keep going deeper. Keep asking harder questions. And keep trusting that you can handle them. I believe that you can. So for now, give yourself permission to stay in this in-between place, where curiosity is awake, and the path that hasn't fully revealed itself yet, that's not being lost. That's being open. And that might be exactly where you need to be right now. All right, well, our fire's burning low. Carry what you need and leave what you don't. You don't have to have it all figured out. None of us do. It's been really good to be with you. Let's do it again soon, all right? Okay. I'll see you next time. Safe travels. That's all for today. Wonder and Wander is written and hosted by me, Mat Wuebben. Original music composed and performed by Calvin Armerding. If this episode meant something to you, think of one man who needs to hear it, and send it to him. And if you haven't yet, leaving a rating on Apple Podcasts helps more men find their way to the fire. New episodes every Wednesday. Wander boldly, wander freely.